There's something that separates 6 and 7 figure coaches from those who are just struggling to get by. And it's not the latest strategy or tactic. Otherwise, everyone doing that would be rich. It's deeper than that. It's the mindset and character traits that sit below it. And we've helped over 200 coaches scale past 6 figures a year and a handful scale past 7 figures a year. And in this video, I want to break down the mindset and character traits of these people that's allowed them to be successful. And because I know 6 to 7 figures is a wide range, so let's break it down. I'm going to share with you some that are required to get to the low 6 figure range, 10, 20, 30K a month. And then I'm also going to share with you some that are required to get to the higher 6 and even 7 figure range. So let's start with the 6 figure range. The first thing is going to be discipline and productivity. These people, they do what they need to do. They don't do what they feel like. They get it done no matter what. If you look at a lot of business owners, especially nowadays, they want to fit everything in around their life. And I think that's fine to a degree. But in the beginning, you need to get the things done. That means if a certain number of long form videos need to go out, they go out. A certain number of reels need to be done, they get done. A certain number of emails, conversations, offers made, follow-ups. The metrics need to get hit. The KPIs need to get hit no matter what. And this is the first thing about being a business owner. You need to get the things done. Inputs produce outputs. And so at the beginning, what I like to get clients to do, we help them instill this. A lot of them have this as well. And we kind of work 50-50 on it. It starts with discipline. To do these things first, it's not normal. You have to discipline yourself or have somebody discipline you to get these things done, whether that is in your business or whether that's going to the gym or whether that's how you eat. You start with the discipline because it's a new thing for you. But over time, that becomes habit to where it's not just disciplining yourself. You don't even need to consciously think about it. You just do it. And if you think about a child brushing their teeth, when they're very young, it might be fun, brushing their teeth. But after a while, maybe 6, 7, 8 years old, they maybe find it annoying and the parent has to yell at them to brush their teeth. They have to discipline them. But after a while, once you're a fully grown adult, it's just habit. You don't have to discipline yourself to brush your teeth anymore. I hope. You just wake up and you just do it. You don't have to consciously think, I don't want to brush my teeth. It's just habit. You do it on autopilot. And this is what happens in your business as well. You do something first, it becomes fun. Then you think, oh, well, I've been doing it. I don't want to do it anymore. Then you discipline yourself to do it. And after a while, it just becomes habit and you run it on autopilot. The second thing these people do is they control their time. They do not let their time control them. The majority of the population lets their time control them. So a phone call comes in, they pick it up. A client responds to them, they're responding right away to that client. Something happens, an email comes in, they drop what they're doing and they go to reply to that email. You can't build anything like this. You need to be able to protect your time so you can focus. And I think that's really the key thing with controlling your time is focus. So what I get all clients to do is really just start using things to physically remove those distractions. Do not disturb mode. Put the phone in the other room, turn this thing off that beeps, just kind of get things out of your environment. And that ties into everything else as well, like even with food, right? Not really a food video, but if you can't control the food stuff, just get it out the house. And so you control your time. The people who let the time control them, the time will control you, not in a good way. So you want to compartmentalize things. Have your time where your YouTube videos get done, where your conversations get done, where your posting gets done, where communicating with your team, coaching clients, responding to client messages. Have times where these things happen. And that even ties back into the first one about the discipline. So it all works hand in hand. The third thing these 6-figure clients do is actively lean into discomfort. If you think about discomfort, where do the results lie? Do they lie on the side of comfort or on the side of discomfort? Rhetorical question. Everything worth getting in life is on the opposite side of discomfort or is at the end of discomfort. You want a great body? You have to go and lift those weights. I'm not talking about this injectable stuff, right? You have to go and lift those weights. You have to put the work in. You want a business, you have to do some things you don't want to do. You want to get a date with that girl, you got to be uncomfortable. You got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. So now that we know that everything is on the opposite side or at the other side of discomfort, why not lean into that discomfort? You can force yourself for so long. Yes, you can discipline and force yourself into doing something. But when you can actually just lean into that discomfort and say, okay, well, this many reels need to get done. I am not comfortable doing reels, but I'm going to lean into it. Same with like long form videos. I'm not very comfortable doing long form videos, but I'm leaning into the discomfort. And this is what successful people do. And I'll tell you what, if you can put aside that temporary discomfort, whether it's again, physique, dieting, business, I use the physique stuff a lot, kind of trying to get into shape myself. But if you lean into that discomfort, not only will you get the results, but let's say you do 100 long form YouTube videos. Do you know how good your confidence is, your communication, how good you're going to be on YouTube, how good you're going to be at speaking to people after that? You're just gaining so many skills that the people who don't lean into it, or the people who start and then stop and be inconsistent, they will never achieve those. So you can either say, hey, I don't want to do it, or you can say, hey, you know what? This needs to be done. Let's lean into it. Let's have some fun. It always works better that way. Can't remember if we're at 3. I think it's 4 now. But the next thing these people do is they create systems, repeatable SOPs. You see, the problem with doing everything one by one, if you don't have a standard operating procedure or repeatable SOP, everything is going to be done from scratch and you have no predictable results. So every conversation is unique. Every sales call is unique. Every client onboarding is unique. Every client fulfillment is unique. How can you build a business like that? You can get results for a few people, no doubt. But have you noticed when you go into a McDonald's, whether it's in the USA, the UK, Canada, Thailand, it's a pretty similar experience across the board. In fact, it's almost identical apart from a few different food items. SOPs, you go in there, you know how to order, it's the exact same thing. And that is done by design. If you have all these different things where every conversation's different, every sales call's different, every client fulfillment's different, every email's different, every workshop is different, every webinar's different, there's more points of failure. And so you can't get those predictable results. You don't know what works and you don't know what doesn't work. And you're just having to rely too much on good performance. But when you have standardized this, it removes the thinking. You can truly be present if you know, okay, this is the framework for my sales calls. We're going to do this process and then this framework. Notice I didn't say scripts. You don't need to script every single word, but this process and then this, you can really focus on being present and just actually listening to the prospect. Or whether it's a video and okay, I'm going to do a hook and then I'm going to do an intro and then I'm going to give some points and then I'm going to do a call to action. You can really flow through it and just do your best without having to worry every single time. And when you know what works, you can double down on it. But if you don't, then you're just consistently guessing and throwing different ideas out there and seeing what sticks. Works up till a point, but it doesn't really scale past that. The next thing is sales and cash collected. That's really the only 2 metrics that are needed to get to this 10, 20, 30K a month level. It's really exposing people to the offer and then offer conversions, offer exposures, offer conversions. Those are the 2 things. And so if that is a call funnel, it's booking calls and closing calls. If you're using a webinar as your conversion mechanism, webinar attendees, webinar conversions. If it's just straight to an offer checkout page, page visitors, page conversions. So again, those are the 2 metrics, the offer exposure and offer conversions. So those are the mindset and behavioral characteristics that help people get to that low to mid 6-figure level. On top of those lie some strategies and tactics. So if you'd like my help installing not just the behavioral characteristics and mindset components, but the strategy and tactics as well, I've left some info in the description. You can click the link there. But let's move on to the 7-figure level. Now, going from low to mid 6 figures to high 6 to even 7 figures requires a different change in thinking, as well as the marketing and strategies as well. So the 6-figure business owners, they are doing more. Like I said, more volume, more calls, more KPIs. They are doing more themselves, more volume, more content, more calls, more follow-ups. But at the 7-figure level, it requires getting more done, but doing it less yourself. And what this does is it removes risk. Because if you're doing all the content, you're doing all the calls, you're doing all the follow-ups, you're doing all the client onboarding, you're doing all the client delivery, there's just too much risk on one person. We call that key man risk. What happens if you get sick? What happens if you want to take some time off? What happens, again, if you're doing this much at that much volume and you get burnt out? Or if you're doing all this, who's going to work on the business? Who's going to focus on new campaigns, new offers in your offer suite, new tactical developments for the business? How are you going to do all that? So at its core, business is leveraging other people's time and your own capital or other people's capital. And this is what you need to do at this level. At the low 6-figure mark, You're more like a highly paid freelancer, and nothing wrong with that. You make good money. But here is where you actually need to think like a business owner, and you need to get efficient with your time. So, like I said, it's not about doing less, it's about getting more done while doing less. The next thing you want to focus on is not just where we said before, sales and cash collected, but here it's about having the best offer and client results in the market, because that's what's really going to set you apart. You can claw in a few clients a month just by booking more calls and closing more deals. But here is where you set yourself apart from the market by having the best offer and client results. And think about this in this way. There's people you know in your industry. I'll take mine of helping businesses scale. There's people who help people get to 10, 20K a month. They sit here, right? But then there's the people who help people get to 100K a month or even bigger. And they sit above these people. And you know you want to work with the big dog. Those are the big dogs. That's the daddy. You know who you want to work with, right? And so for me, I know someone I want to work with. I don't qualify yet. I need to be at that 300K a month level consistently to work with that person. And I've seen their offer and client results. And that's what I want in my business. So you want to be showing that as well, regardless of the numbers I just threw out. But you want to have the best offer and the best client results in your market. So it changes from just getting more people in, which is absolutely necessary at that six-figure level to get to this, because you need more people in to see what works, what doesn't, how to improve your offer, improve your process. You need that volume. But at this level, then you're getting more referrals. Just more people from the market flow up to you. And even those six-figure people, a lot of them will flow up to you as well. So offer and client results is absolutely key at this level. The next thing is having just a bigger, grander vision. At the six-figure level, you may have a vision, absolutely. You may want to create impact, but really it's about setting yourself up. It's about creating some good income, 10, 20, 30K a month. But at this seven-figure level, you've probably got more than you need to live pretty well. So it's more than just making money. It's about what do they want to create? Who do they want to impact? What do they want to be known for? What do they want people to say about them? And it can be a little egotistical in a way, but in the right way, because you want to be known for a certain thing. You want to impact certain people. You want your name to be known. You want to be thought of as just more than just, oh, this kind of coach. You really want to be known in your market. And I think that's a good thing. So you want to have that grand vision. What do you want to create for your life? What do you want to create for your legacy? What do you want to create in your industry? And I see that across the board. These people have much bigger dreams and goals than just making some money. It's they want to be able to do this for their industry. They want to create this kind of conference, the first of its kind. They want to make this affordable for everyone in their market or something. They have some burning, driving passion they really want to move towards. And you may have this at the six-figure level, but I find this is where it really comes down and gets you going, because after 50, 60K a month, do you really need more money? You may not. But for most people, not really. This is what's really going to push you. Another thing I find in common as well, and I give all these fitness examples, I find they really tie into business a lot. But the people I've seen really focusing on that seven-figure level, they tend to be in better shape. They really tend to value their physique and their mind and their body and really everything as one. I used to hear how you do one thing is how you do everything, and I never really agreed with it, because I did everything different to hit 10, 20, 30K a month. But only when I really started pushing past that did I realize, well, yeah, it's actually true. Like the way you work in the gym and stuff is the way you work on your business. And it's not going to be the case for everyone. Obviously, you can find outliers who are out of shape and doing really well. But in general, they are working hard. They are trying. They are working on their appearance, maybe the way they dress, maybe the way they speak. They're building their whole life in alignment with this goal. And they prioritize greatness in all different areas of life. The next thing is celebrating wins. I find the seven-figure people generally don't celebrate wins too often. Maybe once in a while, but in general, they don't celebrate, they normalize it. So if you think about, again, at the six-figure level, somebody hits a 10, 20, 30K month, they are celebrating it. It's the greatest thing ever, whether they're doing it publicly and posting about it or even to themselves. And that's fine. We've all been there. I've been there myself. But what you celebrate becomes your ceiling. If you celebrate signing a $5,000 client, you're probably not going to sign 100 of them in a month, right? Because that becomes the celebration. By definition, that is something, a need to celebrate is something that you don't do all the time. If you think about Usain Bolt, I'm sure at some point he probably ran 100 meters in 15 something. I think I did that when I was like 15 years old, like a 15 point something. He probably did that when he was 5. But if he kept celebrating that, like that was the best thing ever, we never would have got that 9.58 Usain Bolt. Or even a friend I was out with the other day, we were out for coffee. And, he does well. He makes about like $10,000, $15,000 a month, completely different business, not coaching or anything. And he was talking about a new business he wanted to start. And he asked me, what would I need to see to, do that with him? And I said, probably 300K a month profit. And his eyes just almost popped out of his head because he couldn't fathom that amount of money. He makes good money, but for him, he couldn't fathom $300,000 a month. And when I finally got him over that to where he could see, okay, 300K a month and profit no less could be possible. He said, yeah, we could probably do that in the next 5 to 10 years. I said, no, mate, next year, 300K a month profit. And it seemed like I was speaking a foreign language to him. But that's because where he's been playing, he couldn't fathom that amount. And that's not to show off. I can't fathom certain amounts, like making $3 million a month in my business right now. Do I feel that's possible? If I'm being honest, probably not at this very moment. I will get there though. So there's levels of it. And it's because what I do now is normalized. I don't celebrate $100,000 a month. That's the baseline. That's normalized. And that's what these 7-figure business owners do. The ceiling, the old ceiling becomes the new floor. Just like, again, back to physique, the shape I'm in now, I'm not in the best shape, but I've been a lot larger than this. But this is the lowest acceptable standard that I'm willing to tolerate of myself. And when you build things this way, you don't become the person who wins. You become the person who cannot fail. You upgrade your identity and your beliefs and your habits so far that you cannot fall below a certain level. That's the goal I have with my clients, is not to make them the person who wins, but to make them the person who cannot fail. And then one more thing I've noticed that they do is drop the ego. And this might be a little bit contradictory to what I said earlier about having an ego. There's obviously nuances, but in general, they will drop the ego. So if they do a piece of content and it doesn't hit, and I'll tell them, okay, you need to change this intro. This was boring. This was rubbish. You need to do this. They'll do that. Same with me. If I put out long form content and they don't get any views, I won't have an ego about it. I'll say, okay, I need to improve here. I need to improve there. Or maybe I like my presence on camera and people don't. No problem. Maybe I'm better at reels. Maybe I'm better at written stuff. Maybe I'm better at running some paid ads and doing this kind of operation. It's really about leaning into the data and not having any emotion around it. So I hope this video was helpful to get inside the mind of how 6 and 7-figure operators really work. And now that you have some of the mindset principles down, you also need to stack some skill sets on top of it to make it all work. So what I recommend you do is watch this video next, where I explain the 3 levers to install to get consistent inbound clients coming to you each and every day. I'll see you over there.